Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Modern College of Business and Science in Oman Chronicle series. Today's talk is about COVID-19 era challenges for job opportunities. And it goes without mentioning that this is a hot topic, and it has far-reaching implications and impact on various aspects of our lives. And every day we receive a lot of reports from national, regional, and international organizations about this topic. So it is a very timely and very hot topic that we need to discuss and see how it will impact our futures. I have got two speakers today, actually, Dr. Wail Al Harrasi and Dr. Ali Al-Shidhani. I will introduce them and then we'll go to the webinar itself. Dr. Wail Al Harrasi, he has got a bachelor degree and master's degree and PhD in chemical engineering, and he had these degrees from a number of UK universities, and he served in his beginning of his career in PDO, Petroleum Development of Oman, and then he founded his own business called Wabas Enterprise for Investment. He's the founder and CEO, and this is a very interesting choice of a commercial name, Wabas. I had to go to my dictionary to find out what Wabas means, and I found it is a very interesting, very rich vocabulary in Arabic language. It has a lot of meanings, very positive meanings actually, and I understood why he chose this commercial name for his business. And he is also chairman of the board of governance for the Modern College of Business and Science in Oman. He is known for his activities in public talking and a number of social activities in Oman and outside Oman. So he has got a number of experiences in different areas qualify him to talk about this topic. Our second speaker is Dr. Ali Al-Shidhani. Unlike Dr. Wail Al-Harrasi, Ali Al-Shidhani, he did his first degree in Sultan Qaboos University, and then he moved around a little bit. So he got his second degree from Queensland University of Technology in Australia, and he got his PhD in University of British Columbia. And he worked in TRC, the Research Council, at the beginning of his career. And now he's with ASIAD. He's the Vice President of Technology at ASIAD. And he also carried out a lot of activities throughout his career in research and other areas. So again, he is really in the field, and he knows what kind of implications COVID-19 will have in the future. He can give us some insights into this topic. So before I give the floor to the speakers, I would like just to share with you some rules and regulation for this webinar. We are going to allow the two speakers to speak for 1 hour approximately, and then after that we'll host questions. Questions should be written and submitted through the icon that really takes question in this software, and then this will be shared with the speakers after they talk to answer to these questions, and this will allow us time to go until just before Salat al-Maghrib. We will finish the webinar. So now I would like to invite Dr. Wail Al Harrasi to give his talk. Please, Dr. Wail.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Saeed, for your kind introduction. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, peace and blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Thank you very much for for the introductions and for allowing me to be part of this webinar today. I'm honored to be a guest along with Dr. Ali Shaydani. I would like just to confirm you can see the slides with you right now, Dr. Saeed.
We can see them, yes.
Okay. Of course, talking about COVID-19 era and the challenges for jobs opportunities, we need to understand that what is happening right now with COVID is something that is unprecedented in the modern era. Everyone is impacted, every country, every nation, regardless of wealth, regardless of development, how developed a country is, the impact is severe almost everywhere. Along with those challenges that COVID-19 brings with it, comes a lot of opportunities. We could really say that COVID-19 is a moment in history, very similar when the theories of the elimination of the dinosaurs in the world and a beginning of a new era of new species living in this world. COVID-19 is very similar, where the clock has been reset. Everything, the rules of conduct in the world has been reset, and it brings a lot of opportunities for people to start over again. Everyone almost on a very equal platform, whether you are a pioneer in your field or you are a startup. It gives a new start for everyone to start fresh. So there are questions to ask ourselves, first of all, before we go into the details of looking into the impact of jobs and opportunities. There are very broad line questions when you want to think about what is happening right now and what is happening, what should happen in the future, and how could we get more prepared. So sets of questions about the past. What did just happen? What happened and how did that happen? And questions about today, how to control what is happening, or how can we find a cure, how to cure it. And the future is how to actually coexist. If we can't get rid of it, if this is actually staying for too long, then how to coexist with it, and how whole life can be actually remodeled around living with COVID-19. And if we look at this virus and we take a stream out of each one and put a question, how to protect ourselves, how to cure, how to immunize, what is the extent of disruption? And here today we are talking about the disruption on jobs and employment very specifically. We need to look how to live with COVID-19, again, in the context of employment and jobs. What are the lessons learned, and how could we learn from these lessons for life after COVID-19 or with COVID-19? This is a very quick mind map that I have created a few weeks ago, thinking about the impact of COVID-19 on life. And you could see that there is impact on your right, on individuals, starting from health, spiritual health, professional, and unprofessional is the stream that we are talking about today, which is employment, progression. How would progression be assessed? We are not used to mass amount of people working from distance and from mobile. What are the new working models, be it within a single corporate environment or within the whole government or a country or even the whole world? There are, of course, social impacts, there are political impacts, power shifts and influence would change. What would happen to conflicts? International bodies, would they actually remain? Would they have any power? If we look at educational impacts, economic impacts, trade agreements, service industry, manufacturing, banking, currency, what would happen to it? Globalization, what would happen to it? Our whole employment and economic structure is based on globalization. Are we going to see more localization rather than globalization? And how would that impact the job markets and employments? Of course, there is technological impacts. The fourth industrial revolution, technologies, you have security, and finally environment. So this is just to help us understand the full picture of what's happening with COVID-19 as much as we can. And of course, a lot of these impacts, whether economic, educational, on individual, etc., they would definitely have an impact on employment and on jobs. I looked at the impact through the international report, through the International Labour Organization, and if you look at the figures on the left here, then you would actually see that this is an estimated drop on aggregated working hours. So the aggregated working hours throughout the world has changed. In the first quarter of 2020, it was about 4.5 hours. And that changes and varies between low-income countries, lower middle-income countries, all the way to high-income countries. And you see that even the high-income countries, the average drop in aggregate hours is 1.6, which is very similar to the low-income. The interesting thing is that the upper middle-income countries, there was a massive drop, which is about 8.6 hours drop in working hours. The tables below that, they are showing us the impact in working hours based on regions. And the third one from the top, Arab states, you have 1.8 hours drop in the working hours. So it's not huge, it's not massive, but that was the first quarter. The second quarter, the drop went from 1.8 to 10.3. That is a massive drop, and this is something that we can actually see in our day-to-day lives here in Oman, for example. On your right, you would see where the impact actually happens. This is these three bars, the very light pink and all the way towards the dark pink. The light pink shows us the total employment, and the middle bar there shows us the informal employment as a percentage of the total employment. When we say informal employment, these are actually very similar to freelancers or people who actually work from home, non-uniform works, today here, tomorrow there, running businesses that are actually unregistered businesses. Those are the highest impacted jobs, yeah, because of the lockdown. And you can see that for different regions across the world. So at the left, you have the global, and then there is a breakdown for low-income countries, lower middle-income countries, all the way to high-income countries. And you can see that in the high-income countries, the impact is very minimal. Why? Because the informal type of jobs constitutes a very small percentage, only 20%, and 80% constitutes of formal jobs. So you could see that the impact is very low. Now, what sort of sectors have been impacted and how have been impacted? We said initially that the impact is mainly on on every sector. However, the level of impact is different. And in this table, again, from the International Labour Organization, you can say that the wholesale and retail market, manufacturing, accommodation and food services, real estate, those are the mostly hit industries. Very high impact. Layoffs or actually delays in payments. Some of those industries are totally shut down, such as hotels and resorts. Then you have medium to high, which are arts, entertainment, recreation, transport, storage, logistics, communication. Those are the high, medium impacted. Then you have the construction, where some countries have completely imposed a lockdown even on the construction services. Some of them continued to prevent any economic crisis. So that's why you have this sector, as well as mining, quarrying, and financial insurance services. Those are medium impacted. Then we have agriculture, forestry, education, utilities, security. All of these have very low impact on these. Why? Because there is an increased need, and these actually are the base services provided to people to live a normal life and an average or just above an average life. That's why governments, organizations, companies made it possible that these have to operate, and hence the impact is very low. Now, how to respond to all of that? How did the world respond to all of that? How should we respond to all of those changes? The international labor organizations worked on policies based on 4 main pillars. So trying to encourage governments to work on policy change to protect both enterprises and employment, because through protection of SMEs, enterprises, you protect employment, you allow people to work. So the first pillar is stimulating the economy and employment through active fiscal policies, accommodating monetary policies, lending and financial support. And we have seen some of those in Oman being implemented through the central bank and other legislative bodies in Oman, where providing supporting policies and loans and debts, etc. Pillar number 2 was supporting enterprises, jobs and incomes through extended social protection for all, implementation of employment retentions. In Oman, we've created a new body or a new, job security fund of some sort in Oman was created. Pillar number 3 is protecting workers in the workplace, which is very important. And this is something that we have seen recently here in Oman. A lot of talk from government and policymakers about having policies to protect the well-being of the employees. On the contrary, we have upcries from people who have been impacted, and maybe sometimes claim of foul play by employers who discriminate against some of those employees. And hence, working on this pillar is very important for government and corporations together to make sure that there is actually a single direction between employers, policymakers, governments, etc., to ensure the protection of employees and staff. The fourth and final pillar is relying on social dialogue. It's not about legal dialogue anymore, because we are in unprecedented time. Social dialogue, having an understanding, being able to talk on a social level between policymakers, corporates, employees, to strengthen the capacity and resilience of employers and workers' organizations, to strengthen the capacity of governments, strengthen the social dialogue and collective bargaining and labor relations, institutions and processes. This is what the International Labour Organization is talking about as one of the means of responding to the crisis through policy. In my opinion, technology is another way. Fourth Industrial Revolution technologies, the 4IR technologies, would actually create a shift in how we work. Media has always portrayed those technologies, even consultancy firms and reports always portrays those technologies like artificial intelligence, robotics, automation, etc., as technologies that are going to eliminate a lot of work. Figures mentioned in reports, such as 40% of jobs would be completely eliminated by automation only by 2025. This is a very bleak view of the technologies, which actually could have a very positive impact. We need to take these figures, 40% percentages, very cautiously, because that is only one figure. The figures actually range between 10% impact all the way to 60% impact. So we need to be very careful. From the research that we have done in Wabas, in Oman, in the oil and gas industry, for example, we have seen that the jobs that are going to be impacted either by loss or creation are actually just 5%. And 90% of the impact is actually a shift in how people would actually work. The task would be different, however, the jobs would actually be there. So we need to capitalize on that. Number two, technologies would actually support distance and mobile working. And this is something that we have seen growing in Oman, which allows people to work from home. Number three, technology stimulates the move towards a more strategic and intellectual type of jobs, rather than labor intensive. We have seen that majority of jobs that actually have been impacted and lost, those are either labor intensive or jobs that needs someone to actually go and interact with co-workers to execute a particular job. If we adapt new technologies and work from home, of distance working, or allow mobile working, plus the technologies that are allowing the shift in jobs to have more intellectual engagement rather than doing by hand, then if we create more of these types of jobs through technology, then we are actually ensuring less disruption of epidemics in either in employment or in the movement of jobs. Finally, the rise of new mediation companies through technologies, selling convenience, selling nothing but convenience. If you look at online platform like Uber, they're selling convenience. They have nothing else to sell. They own nothing. They bring two mediums together, and for our convenience as customers of Uber, we pay the price. Those mediation companies, Airbnb, etc., they have opened new opportunities, and through COVID-19, we have seen a rise in the demand for these platforms, and hence technology will help create more and more of these platforms and create a larger level of employment, being formal or informal. Formal for the employees of those platforms working for these companies, and more opportunities for those who have informal jobs who can offer their services through the platform. So technology can actually help in more than one way in promoting employment. Finally, this is something that we as individuals, job seekers, and people who have been displaced from work, they need versatility. 5 main points. Number one, seek income and do not seek a job, because we need that type of versatility and change in mindset, where rather than looking for a job, look for an income, and that would open up a lot of opportunities. Number two, rely on skills and not qualifications. Those who rely on qualifications are bound to think from a very narrow perspective and think more about what can I do based on my qualifications. The number of skills that an individual might have is much broader than the qualifications earned through academia, and hence trying to utilize those skills and market them as skills that can be sold or create new products or services through those skills will create much more opportunities. Number three, be open-minded about any opportunity. Number four, create opportunities. Don't wait for them to come, try and create them. As we said earlier, COVID-19 has reset the clock. Everything has been formatted. So you can start from scratch, like the corporations, large corporations who fell during COVID-19, and they also start from scratch. Number 5, and finally, become a citizen of the world, a worker of the world. We talk about becoming a citizen of the world, but today, if I am looking for a job or a position or an employment or an income source, I don't have to look for it in my village or my city or even my country. I can work from the comfort of my home and serve an organization thousands of miles away. This is all enabled by technology, and this is something that we need to open our eyes to, and to become much more versatile in our methods to be able to respond to a crisis like COVID. Thank you very much, and I would like to thank you all for listening, and I think I've overstayed my presentation here by 1 minute. I would like to hand the mic here to my colleague, Dr. Ali Al-Shaydani. So there you go, Dr. Ali.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
شكرا جزيلا. شكرا دكتور. I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me clearly. Yeah. Dr. Saeed, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Doctor. I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Right. شكرا جزيلا. First of all, I would like to thank MCBS for organizing this session. It just shows how MCBS cares about its students and keeping up with what's happening in the world and educating students on the current events and affairs that are happening in the world. That is very important. And I would like to thank Dr. Wail for his introduction. It's always a pleasure to have Dr. Wail in the room, sharing his wisdom and experience, mashallah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also spend a few minutes to discuss some practical steps on how graduates can hunt for a job in the current climate. So mainly I'll be addressing new graduates who are out there now, who have finished their education and looking for jobs. But I think the discussion will also be of benefit to everyone, whether they are graduates or not. I will share my screen. I have a few slides that I want to share. Please let me know if you can see the screen. Dr. Saeed, Dr. Wail, can you see the screen?
Yes, it's clear. Go ahead.
Yes. So, okay, I graduated. Now what? I was in this situation. I don't want to disclose how old I am, but many years ago, when I graduated from Sultan Qaboos University, and when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I had that perception that, okay, now I know everything. I graduated as electrical and computer engineer, and I was deluded by thinking that now I know everything. Let's go and find a job and carry on with our lives. But the reality is different. The reality is you should continuously keep learning. Don't stop learning, whether it is something that is within your specialization or not. And this is the theme of my talk, continuous learning. So if you have just graduated, especially with this COVID situation that we have in the country, or that we have in the world, now what? What are you going to do? I've structured this in 3 phases, especially for those who are looking for a job. The first phase is job searching. You will be out there looking for a job, and you will have to keep a presentable profile of yourself, of your capabilities and skills, to make it easy for job hunters to choose you among the crowd. And I think it's very clear now that supply overweighs demand. There is so much supply, so many graduates out there looking for jobs, so little demand. So the first phase is searching, looking for a job. Second phase is actually getting into an interview with one or two employers and trying to convince employers to choose you as an employee. And the third phase is whether you sign that agreement or contract with an employer, and go ahead and start working. And across all these phases, again, the theme of the talk, continuous learning. Never stop learning, relearn, de-learn, relearn, and de-learn again and again. And the tools for you to keep learning is available. The tools are much available today than it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 1 year ago, 1 month ago. The resources, the online learning resources are increasing, and they are becoming available, and the tools are becoming visual, interactive. So you can learn. If you are a text person, you can read books. If you are an audio person, you can listen to podcasts. If you are a visual person, you can watch YouTube videos. So there are no barriers to learning new skills and acquiring new qualifications. That's why you see the arrow down there that says continuous learning. And the reason why I'm stressing on this, because I remember myself, and I remember when I graduated, I thought, okay, I've done 5 years of engineering studies. That's enough. I don't want to hear more about books and learning new concepts in math and physics and so on. Let me just try to find a job and move on with my life. But that was delusional. Fact of the matter is, you have to allocate not less than 15 minutes, half an hour every day of your life to learn something new. And it doesn't matter what are you learning. It could be within the same specialization that you have graduated with, but it could be anything else. So I can't overstate the importance of continuous learning. So when looking for a job, especially with the crowd out there looking for a job, you have to stand out. You have to be different. And the first, your interface with any employer is your CV. Your CV have to be different. So please stay away from the normal text-based CVs. Try to become creative when creating your CV. This is one of the most interesting CVs that I've ever seen. It's an infographic CV. This guy is a graduate of computer science, but he is also a designer. So the way how he described his profile is that he is half an artist and half a scientist. And he listed down the artistical skills that he owns and the scientific qualification that he owns. This is a perfect blend between qualification and skills. And for me, if I am an employer, I'll be receiving dozens of CVs. And obviously a CV of this sort tells me a lot about the applicant. It tells me that this applicant is creative. It tells me that he is thinking out of the box. And it tells me that he is going to add to my organization more than just computer science. So please try to come up with different types of CVs. Today there is also, it's becoming popular now, what is known as video CVs. CVs that are based on a video clip. a person goes about and describing his capabilities and skills and showcasing the projects that he has done in a video CV. And there are so many tools that can help you create those CVs. I'm listing 2 websites that can help you, automating or that can help you in creating infographic CVs by yourself. Or you can use the help of designers and graphics designers, who are many out there that can also provide such a service. So this is an important tip. Try to distinguish your CV and make it stand out. Next, your social profile. I'm sure everyone has a social account, and we all know that social media comes in different flavors. Facebook is for long stories, personal storytelling. Instagram is picture-oriented. YouTube is video-oriented. Twitter is more serious, but snapshot of wisdom. LinkedIn is professional based social media. Snapchat is more fun oriented, and so on. So I'm sure everyone has a social profile. Employers today, if they want to compare between applicants, if the applicants are too close, they will go to the social profile to learn more about applicants. So be careful on what you post on your social profile, because sometimes some of the things that you post might harm your chances of getting a job, and try your best to link to professionals in your area, especially LinkedIn, where it is it's characterized as the professional social media platform. So link with those who are professional in your profile, link to networks that are related to your discipline. In Twitter, try to follow those who are pioneering in your field of study, so that you can learn and you become updated with all the events, news that are happening around you. So in general, use social media for your advantage. Use social media to make your profile stand out, and so that when you get to the interview, some of the interviewees might recognize you before before the interview starts, because they have seen your work, they have seen your profile, they have seen how active you are on social media. Never underestimate what social media can bring to you. Again, continuous learning. So while searching for a job, keep adding more tools to your arsenal. Keep a toolbox full of skills that are related or not related to your qualification or to your field of study. And as I said before, the platforms to learn are many. I've listed some websites that are of interest that you can go and learn anything you want to learn, all the way from cooking to graphics design, to negotiation skills, to creative thinking, and so on. And there are so many reports that emphasizes the importance of soft skills like creative thinking, complex problem solving, design thinking, system thinking, and so on. Equip yourself with all these different tools. World Economic Forum puts huge emphasis on data and data-related sciences and data-related skills. So data science, artificial intelligence, these are additional skills. If you can add to your arsenal, it will give you competitive edge. I particularly advise you to go to the last website that I have listed here, noexcuselist.com. So if you go to No Excuse List, it tells you that you have no excuse not to learn something new. So make it a habit that you learn something new every day, whether by reading new articles, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, or attending online classes. Language is not a barrier as well. There are some open learning profiles that are in Arabic. So if language is a difficulty for you, there are Arabic platforms that you can learn from, and I have listed some of them here. So while waiting for a job, please keep learning and add more skills to your arsenal. Now, waiting for a job, that's passive. You can also go to a proactive mode by trying to create your own job. Now, that's easy said than done, I know, but because of the existence of the internet, social media, you can promote for yourself and for whatever business that you want to start much faster than before. And it takes a creative idea plus disciplined execution for you to run a business that can bring you some income while you're waiting for a job that satisfies you. And statistics show that freelancing is becoming a trend. This statistic here by Upwork, it shows that by 2027, the number of freelancers in the US will surpass the number of non-freelancers. And with freelancing, you have the freedom to work not full-time, but based on contract, and you provide services based on your convenience, and you will do the thing that you like to do. So consider freelance work, and there are so many websites. I'm listing some here. If you are good in content creation, if you are good in graphics design, if you are good in curation of documents, translation of documents, you will find a job out there. You will find someone out there who wants to use your service. So make use of your time and make use of your skills to earn extra income. Now, COVID is also bringing a new array of opportunities. With COVID, it is a challenging situation that we are in right now, but it opens up new opportunities. I like what Dr. Wail said about COVID. It's an equal playing field. It is something like a reset button where we all can start again. I want to refer to a very interesting mind map. I like the mind map that was created by Dr. Wail, and I don't think it's different than the one that I am sharing here. This mind map is called the ripple effect of the low-touch economy. You can search for it online and read it. This mind map is a good starting point if you want to start business in COVID, because it tells you all the different possibilities that are going to happen after COVID or during COVID. So when we talk about hygiene precautions, what type of business that you can start in hygiene? Delivering of masks, PPE equipment, mobile apps that promotes for hygiene, and so on. When we talk about social distancing, which means people are no longer in the same room together, people are separated. So what type of businesses that will emerge? Virtual weddings, virtual malkas, virtual idea, and so on and so forth. Limiting large gatherings. So rather than going to concerts, attending football matches in masses, this is something that we are not going to do in the foreseeable future. So what are the alternatives? How can we bring the same experience virtually? So these are different business opportunities that can be explored. Travel restrictions. Now with the travel restriction, how can we bring the enjoyment of travel to homes? How can you use virtual reality, augmented reality, and other technologies to simulate traveling while you are staying at home? So this is just one mind map that can help you come up with new business suitable for the COVID era. But I'm sure there are many others that can also give guidance on how to start, what type of business that are needed during COVID. Now let's say you have applied and now you've been called for an interview. So what should you expect in an interview? I've been through many interviews as an interviewee and as an interviewer as well. And I can see a common trend and common mistakes that I would like to convey. And I wish every one of you not to repeat those mistakes. Number one, know the company. Don't go to an interview and you have not done your homework and you have not done due diligence and reading about the company, what does the company do, what's their source of revenue, how many employees do they have, who are their stakeholders. So don't go there without proper research and due diligence. Know the job description. What are they looking for? What's the what are the set of skills and qualifications they are looking for, and do you fit? And if you don't, how can you convince them that you fit in what they are looking for? It will be an advantage for you as well if you know the interviewers. If you know who is interviewing you, you can direct the discussion towards things that they want to hear. Or you can prepare very well based on the background of the interviewers. So especially in this era where job interviews are very rare, treat every job interview as a golden opportunity. So be prepared and go there with your full set of equipment and weapon ready to convince the interviewers that you are fit for the job. Now, COVID brings new reality. There might it's not like how it used to be before. Don't expect that the first job will be your dream job. You might start with a job that is much lower than what you expected, but that's okay. Take the first step, because this will be very helpful for you. It will be very helpful for your CV, and getting into the workforce as soon as possible is much better than waiting for a dream job that no one knows when it's going to come. So take chances and grab on any opportunity that you get, especially in the current situation. And don't expect permanent employment. This is what I have seen lately. Many employers now go for temporary employment for a couple of years, then they convert the temporary employment into permanent employment. So that is becoming common now. So if that's what you've been offered, I would say, and the job offer is good enough, I would say go for it. Don't forget to consult with your peers, with your family. If you have a mentor in your life, don't forget to consult with your mentors as well, so that you can take an informed decision before you make the right choice. So getting a job, it's becoming a little bit more difficult. This means that you have to do more to secure a job, and it means that you have to lower expectation a little bit given the current circumstances and situation. For me, this is what I wanted to share, Dr. Saeed, but stay in touch. Please connect through Twitter or LinkedIn. Happy to keep the conversation going even after the Q&A session. Thank you, Dr. Saeed, and over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ali, very much. And thank you, Dr. Wail, also. I think both of you did a wonderful job, and I like the balance between, macro and micro level of this, webinar today. This is very rare, actually, to see this kind of compatibility and consistency between two speakers coming from different backgrounds, but they complement each other. They don't overlap. I think this is, really very nice to, get this kind of harmony in the talk itself. And thank you very much for all ideas you shared, Dr. Wail, and especially about, how to respond, to COVID-19 and the issue of jobs, stimulating the economy and employment, supporting enterprise jobs and income, and protecting, workers, and all these ideas you shared with us. And from Dr. Ali, I take with me, really this very brave statement. Don't expect to land at your dream job, from the beginning. Actually, this is the kind of, mentality we had, and we thought we're not going to leave our jobs at all, until recently. We now think about, freelancing and other concepts you mentioned, and, this continuous learning, a concept, from cradle to grave. I think really you shaped them in the dialogue, and you give us very thought-provoking, ideas. Now, we do have a number of, questions here. Let's try to pick some of them and answer. So I will start by this question here about employment. Actually, will companies will be employing more people, in the current situation? And the question is actually about airports in particular. I don't know why airports, but maybe you can help me out there. And now the questions will go to both of you guys. Dr. Ali, you will start, and then Dr. Wail, and then, if you want to comment on the question, Dr. Ali, go ahead, please. Dr. Wail. So will companies continue to employ people, especially, airports, in this, current situation we are in?
Shukran, Dr. Saeed, and shukran, Dr. Ali. We really learned a lot, actually. I think Dr. Ali is more suitable to answer that question, especially if it's about airports and he is in the logistics industry in Asiyad. But I think from what we know right now, and from what we foresee in terms of the progression of the virus itself and the pandemic, I don't see new employments. We're going to see the airports reopen. We are going to see starting of business slowly, gradually, but at a much lower level than it was before COVID-19. And hence, I don't think we might have seen layoffs initially. I'm not even seeing any increase in numbers of employees until the whole thing actually fades away. This is my own personal opinion. Will companies start employing? If we are talking about the existing companies before that are working in the normal working business fields and not in the digital fields, then again, I would say I do not foresee that. If we talk about industries that have been created during the COVID-19, that we might see some sort of employment in those industries, especially in the digital platforms.
Okay. Dr. Ali, any addition there?
I think Dr. Wail sums it very well. The current situation is difficult in the aviation industry. But with such challenge, there are opportunities. Now with the lockdown and with closure of borders and limited travel across countries, this means that there will be more demand for local travel. So although international aviation is limited, but local travel and adjacent industry like aviation, tourism, adjacent industry to aviation like tourism can flourish as well. So I would say maybe local companies that depends on adventure tourism, for example, or that depends on, I don't know if you know, but there are companies that are specialized in geological tourism. So they take, tourists to special geological sites and so on. So such local companies, they will have to absorb the demand of travel. People are not allowed, or people don't trust to travel outside. They will need to travel internally. So this means that some local companies will flourish. Those who can grab this opportunity to deliver, let's say, travel packages that deliver convenient, let's say, packages, I would say, but locally. This means that they will need tour guides, they will need maybe website developers to develop their websites. There will be some adjacent industry flourishing until this situation, gets relaxed a little bit. So I agree with Dr. Wail. Aviation per se, maybe not. Adjacent industry, maybe yes. And that's the mentality. I mean, for anyone looking for a job, you should try to find out where are the gaps and try to advance your skills and knowledge in the gap area, so that you can come up with new services that are, if it is just starting your own business or being part of an existing business, but in an area where there is a gap, and that's how they knew. I mean, or that's what I encourage everyone to do moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. I think the message is coming very clear there that we need really to, move away from the traditional thinking of, jobs and employment. And I think we need to think out of the box and to, try to explore the new horizons and possibilities, imposed by COVID-19 and other, factors, in this, world today. Now, that, will take us to a second question, which is, a very practical question, actually. It's about, what things we need to consider if we want, to start new businesses in this situation now. Okay, Dr. Wail, you mentioned about that, and also Dr. Ali, you talked about, really self-employment and, continuous learning, and you need to do different things, and maybe we need to use our own, skills more than relying on qualifications. Now, what kind of things we need to consider if you want, to start a new business today in this situation? Dr. Wail.
I think to answer this question, the answer is no different with COVID-19 or without COVID-19. Where to start? Because it would be unfair to ask everyone to start a job that is only has a wide opportunity during COVID-19 or created during COVID-19. I think start in an area where you are capable of delivering. That is number one. If you have capability in delivering in that area of business, then that is one of the criteria you need to look on. Secondly, again, we go back to the skills. What are your skills? Number three, what are the demands? No matter how small they are, you are not looking for a job. You're looking for an income, to something to support yourself, and at the same time, learn from it. So I wouldn't recommend any particular field, but I would ask every individual to ask themselves this question, because the answer, the true answer, is unique to every individual. I quitted my job, and the way I looked for an area to start my own business is actually to count down what are my skills as an individual. I never looked at my qualification, and operating outside my qualification was always an opportunity that I wanted to explore. And I listed down the skills, and I turned every single skill into a product that I was marketing. I tested the market, I went outside and saw that there is demand on certain skills only, and there is no demand on the others. So I started focusing more on the skills that I have where there is demand for. And that is how we started. And this is how I encourage people to start.
Okay, Dr. Ali, the balance between skills and qualifications. Some question there, people, they were attracted with this, statement about, focusing on skills and what you have, not, on your papers and, credentials and, qualifications. So this balance between, focusing on your own skills and, qualifications you have, because you invested actually to obtain these qualifications, invested your time, resources, energy to get these qualifications, and now you are telling us that we need to focus on my skills, not on my papers. So, Dr. Ali, what do you think about that statement from Dr. Wail?
Shukran, Dr. Saeed. The skills versus qualification topic has emerged a lot recently, and I have noticed that many public speakers stress on this, and quoting companies like Google, Microsoft, and so on, that these companies are looking only for skills, not qualifications anymore, and so on. So I understand that this is becoming a hot topic, and everyone, I think, has his own opinion on it. My opinion might be a little bit provoking, okay? I believe qualifications are the foundation. Your qualifications are very important. Skills are the tipping of the iceberg. They are the cherry on the cake. But qualifications are the foundation. Because during your qualification, whether it is in engineering or any other discipline, you will go across a journey on which you will learn teamwork, discipline, deadline, submission of, let's say, or discipline, where there is a structured path for you, learning something and then testing and then achieving, then moving forward. So and all in addition to the science that you will learn eventually. So during your 4-year, 5-year earning your qualification, you will learn the science behind the discipline as well as some skills. Now the problem is, when you go to the job market, you will find out, or employers claim, that graduates are lacking some skills, soft ones. That's where you have to do your job as well. Don't expect the university or college to give you all set of skills that you need to find a job. You will need to do something yourself as well. That's where the continuous learning comes in. You know better where are your weaknesses. So try to improve on those weaknesses. I don't think it's a true statement that companies only depend on skills, not qualifications. I think qualifications are the foundation. Having skills, that's a bonus. If you have an array of skills, it's a bonus. It will make you, it will increase your chances of getting a job. And I was actually intimidated by this. I heard so many people saying that, oh, there is no need for skills. And look at the big companies like Google, Microsoft, and so on. They don't need skills. They don't need qualifications. If you have a couple of skills, if you are a good presenter and so on, that's fine. I actually went and tried to apply for a job in Microsoft, Google, and so on, just to validate whether this is true or not. And in almost all the jobs, engineering jobs, software development, and all that, almost all of them, they require a degree. So it's not entirely true that you can find a job without qualification. It might be in some very particular cases. If a company is looking for a social media expert, I don't think there is a qualification for that. Then your qualification is your social media engagement, your social media profile, and how many projects you did before. That's where your skills help, if this is the job that you're looking for. But for fundamental engineering job, finance job, and so on, qualification matters a lot. But again, not forgetting the other set of skills that you can earn. This is my view. I know others can
thank you, Dr. Ali.
against it, but this is my view.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. I think yes. I mean, skills are very important, but skills, are defined. I mean, and refined and polished through experience. You need to get some sort of experience here. So I've got a question here from one of the students, I guess. What about the students who didn't get a chance to take training and gain some experience? Okay, which means they don't have the skill, and how they can be selected as an employee or trainee. Okay, experience must be it's in every industry they need experience. So this idea of having experience with a new graduate who is coming out with the qualification without maybe enough skills and enough experience, I think this is one of the dilemmas we are facing, and many young people today are concerned with this. How to reach some sort of model where students get enough experience and practical kind of component before they join a job market after they finish colleges. How this can be done properly, because now still there's a complaint that the practical component of different degrees not strong enough compared to the theoretical part of the degree itself. How this can be addressed properly, Dr. Wail?
Shukran, Dr. Saeed. Allow me just before answering this question to go and echo what Dr. Ali said about qualifications. There is no doubt that qualifications are extremely important. Sidelining the importance of qualification is invalid in my position, in my opinion, and I agree totally with Dr. Ali. What I was inferring to is during COVID-19, where there is scarcity of opportunities, I think when we rely entirely on what is my qualification is, then I narrow my opportunities that I am ready to accept. But if I rely on my skills, I'm actually broadening that. And those skills, a majority of those skills actually learned, as Dr. Ali said, during the time at the university, which are called transferable skills. You learn a skill in one field that you could actually transfer it in other fields, regardless. Now, going to this question here, which is about experience. How can we gain experience? Number one, the demand for experience from a graduate is unfair. However, there are roles and responsibilities of both institutions, be it academic institutions, private sector, or the government, to resolve this issue from one side. Secondly, there is the roles and responsibilities of an individual to work on building that experience, even during the time of education. What can an individual do? When I am studying at university, there are many societies and activities and committees that I could actually join. Through joining those committees, there are many activities where I could actually learn to serve the community. And that is part of my experience. And that is what is expected of me as a graduate, to have that sort of level of experience. Use your time for voluntary work. Voluntary work has a lot of weight in CVs, because no one would expect a 20-year-old to have 3 years of experience in their specialized degree. However, they would expect them to have some sort of voluntary work, because that shows initiative, that shows commitment, that shows that people are ready to sacrifice, and those shows qualities of an individual that any organization would actually want. So voluntary work, join societies within the university, within your college, be active. And those have actually shown in many instances that they benefit those individuals. Now, what can academia do? What can universities, colleges, companies do? We need to look at the system, education system. Are we allowing our university students to have experience while they study? Unfortunately, not to the extent that we actually want. We need programs where you have a gap year or a sandwich year, where someone studies for 2 years, goes away and actually work in a company, and come back for another 2 years and complete their degree. This is a sandwich year. We need placements for even students who have after the 10th or 11th grade, who can go during summer vacations and have a placement. Those placements are considered experiences. All of these are many things that can be done. Private sector need to be part of this, because where will actually people go and work for their sandwich year? In the private sector and not the government sector, because most of the work is done in the private sector. Yeah. So this is basically, in very briefly, what an individual can do and what organization can do.
Thank you, Dr. Wail. There is a very interesting question here about balancing between social life and professional life. Okay. The question is, does your personal life affect your chances to get a job? Okay, now I think the question about your lifestyle. Okay, and the personal maybe kind of dimensions, how these affect your chances to find a job. So, Dr. Ali, would you like to try this question out?
This is a tricky question. I really don't know.
Tell him.
I don't know if there is any correlation between personal life and the chances of getting or securing a job. I don't know, but I think there is a common trait that will help securing a job, which is hard work. Hard work and dedication never fails you. So if you are a hard worker during your university years, this means that you will become hard worker during your employment and so on. But I don't know if that is personal. I really don't know. But it depends. It really depends on every individual and every individual's view of life. And yes.
Okay. No, keep going. Your image, I mean, it froze a little bit, so keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it really depends on the individual, and I can give an example. I can give an example of a graduate of your university, of your college, who is actually currently working with me. He's part of my team. And he is an example of hard work and dedication. And through his hard work and dedication, he self-learned new skills and he developed himself, and he is becoming a very key player in the team. So the fact that his qualification was on one area, or he graduated from X college or Y college, I think didn't matter. What really mattered is his hard work and dedication. And again, it goes back to the individual.
Okay, I mean, I don't want to move out from the topic we have, but really this is a very provoking question. And I want to listen to Dr. Wail about it. But before that, I would like just to say something to, add some complication to the situation. And this is maybe my prejudice and personal view. The gap between the, generations. If we look at the previous generation, historically in Oman here, we can see how personal, kind of, the pattern of life itself, affected people who really did wonderful things in Oman and outside Oman. Now, the new generation is different. The way they were brought up, the kind of, influences affecting their lives. And I think this is also, again, it has something to do with that, question. But let's listen to Dr. Wail about it. Dr. Wail, please.
Dr. Said, allow me to understand further the question. What is meant by the question? The gap between generations in what particular area?
Well, my understanding of the question is that young people today, okay, their life pattern, if we call it life pattern, is shaped by a number of influences, okay. They become with different kind of personal characteristics and personalities, okay, yeah. And different from maybe the previous generation in Oman here, at least, or worldwide maybe, and the way they react to challenges, okay, challenges of life is different from maybe our ancestors faced them in these challenges. This is my understanding of the question, I guess.
Okay. Clear, very clear. Thank you very much. Now, a lot of people, when they talk about this, they talk about millennials and the X generation or the Z generation, and giving them a lot of distinct titles, to as if they are completely alien from anything that is before them. Let us be very clear that every generation since the beginning of time is completely different from the generation that comes after it. Yeah, and there hasn't been a generation where they are fully satisfied with the generation that comes after them, or a generation that is fully satisfied with the way of thinking of the generation before. And this is a natural consequence of the progression of human being. We are progressive beings. And that is the main reason why we have been entrusted to be on this earth, as to build earth, because we are progressive beings. So we need to look at these differences very positively. There are some aspects of people's attitudes today, which are a direct result of different upbringing, which is completely different the upbringing of a previous generation, which is much more relaxed in nature. And we see the negative consequences of that. However, there are some aspects of the attitudes or the way of thinking of the generation today has nothing to do with upbringing, but has everything to do with the environment around us and the circumstances that we live in. And let me give you an example. Employers today, one of the most annoying things to employers today is that the youth of today have no patience. They have absolutely no patience. And this is, every employer would I think agree to that yes, I have seen many of those graduates today who come in the organization and keep asking and keep demanding, and they have no patience. And then we compare this generation with 1 or 2 generations before. Say, see, I have been there, and it took me 10 to 15 years to reach a status of so-and-so. The attribute of patience is not something that we can build ourselves only. There are other attributes outside our control that are impacting our patience. Let me give you an example. 20 years ago, if you wanted to send a message, if you are sent abroad as a student and you wanted to send a message back home, the only means you had is through mail. You need to write by hand, you need to find an envelope, then go to the post office, buy stamps, put the stamps, put it into the mail, and then you wait for 3 weeks at least that it reaches back home for someone to actually read it, open it, write in the message, put a stamp, send it back. The cycle is no less than 2 months. Is no less than 2 months from sending an information and coming back. And we are accustomed to that. We were actually accustomed to that, and that is natural. The generation before us, it used to take them not 2 months, but probably 6 months to 12 months to actually do that. People today, they have WhatsApp. They send you a message instantly. And then as soon as they see the 2 ticks turn blue, they expect and they demand an answer immediately.
Yeah.
It is not them. It is technology. It is environment that is shaping how patient we are. To us, the 2 months was enough. Anything more than 2 months, we can't bear it. Yeah, there is a failure in the postal systems. But the generation before us can wait for another 6 to 8 months before they actually start complaining. And today, with technology, with new system around us, then the 2-3 seconds from seeing the blue ticks is enough for me to demand an answer. So we need to be very cautious. Rather than blaming the youth of how different they are, let us understand why they are different. And then we start shaping them towards becoming a little bit more accommodating, a little bit more patient. Similarly, with what we have done with patience, let us do with other attributes. Then we can bridge the gap between the generations.
Thank you, Dr. Wail. I think you shed a light on this topic here, and I think Dr. Ali also mentioned in his intervention that you need to be careful whatever you post in the social media, for example. Again, that goes back to the personality for person, what kind of relationship he has with other people, with the world, and how he reacts to things, how he discuss topics in the social media. So again, there is some sort of really area that you need to be careful about your own personal life and how this might impact you finding a job or not. Now, Dr. Wail, you mentioned something about really patience. And patience is a virtue, they say. And maybe every employer looking for this kind of personal characteristics of employees that will help to take maybe the company to the next stage or something. Now, Dr. Ali, there's a question here related to this issue. What are the most important requirements from the organization's point of view when hiring individuals, okay, with no work experience? Okay, so someone who doesn't have any experience, but he has got some maybe personal features that might help him to find a job. So from the point of view of the organization itself, what will be the important requirements from on the individual to be hired?
Shukran, Dr. Saeed. I think it depends on the situation, and it depends on what type of job it is, and it depends on the culture of the organization. I think the best answer to this is something that I have practiced myself. I hired a fresh graduate, and the fresh graduate, the reason why I hired that fresh graduate is because I was impressed by his profile, although he was fresh, no experience, but academic excellence was exhibited, extracurricular activities were there, volunteer activities in the field of computer science, because that was the job requirement. Extracurricular activities within the college, nationally and internationally as well. Execution of several projects not related to studies. So all these activities gave me an indication about this person, that this person is not contained within that specialization alone. I'm getting a package here, a person who is multidisciplined, can do more than one thing, and any organization will look for such talent. So again, as a general answer, I don't know, because every organization have different culture, but I can tell you what I have seen when I hired the fresh graduate. So I went through many CVs, but that CV stand out because of not only just earning a degree, but I have seen other activities, many related to the discipline, but others not related to the discipline. But it gave me an indication about the type of person that I want to hire.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. Now, this is 6 o'clock now. I think we need to conclude and wrap up. But before that, just one intervention from one of our audience to Dr. Wail about sandwich period. I think this attracted the attention of some students here. So the comment says, as Dr. Wail mentioned about the sandwich period for college and higher school students. Is there any plan for colleges and high schools in Oman to activate this plan to be a must for all? Because it is difficult for all students to get training programs, especially we are not qualified or have any experience. So now you open the Pandora box, Dr. Wail. Students actually, they're confused about this because, they don't get enough, training at college level or school. And then, companies expect them, to have this kind of, experience and practical, component, and to be ready to go once they leave, college. Actually, honestly, I'm, a specialist in this area, schooling and, education in general. And according to the philosophy of, university or college is, to prepare someone, to be able, to do something. And always when we describe, learning outcomes, we talk about, to help students, to give him the knowledge he needs, and things that he needs, to do to be able to perform, all this kind of, jargon we use in education. But at the end of the day, students graduate from colleges or universities still not capable of doing, need to be retrained. So I just want your final comment on that, Dr. Wail, and how we can push this agenda forward to whether in public institutions or private institutions in Oman, to pay more attention and focus on the practical, component, and to, really prepare ready to work, graduates, instead of, giving them more theory and not being able to perform the jobs they were prepared for.
Shukran, Dr. Saeed. Okay, this is a very important question, and indeed, I can see why students would be very interested in such programs. Now, to answer the question, number one, I'm not speaking on behalf of the government. I'm not part of any policy making in the government. However, being part of academia and being part of the chairman of the board in MCBS and being involved in academia, I know that I have been involved personally on a strategic level in the country, that there is this direction, the thinking to move towards diversifying different streams of higher education. So not only having the normal streams that we have today, by diversifying the streams, so people could actually choose, have more options on how to study, including having gap years or sandwich years. And this has been proposed even by certain companies, large companies in Oman. And there is a lot of push from strategists and from companies as well. So when will that happen? We don't know, because the focus right now currently is to get over the economic crisis and COVID. But I'm pretty certain, inshallah, once we get our heads around what's happening here with the economics and COVID, we will see things moving at a much faster pace to create this option, inshallah.
Thank you, Dr. Wail. And with this, I want to come to conclusion of this webinar. Thank you very much, Dr. Wail Al Harrasi and Dr. Ali Shidani for your contribution in this webinar. And we really enjoyed, really your discussions and the contribution you made. And I hope all audience, really share with me this view. And before we conclude, I would like really to announce that our next webinar will be delivered by Professor Jamal Maimouni. And if today we discussed something about this planet and what's happening on it, our next webinar will be about the elegant universe. Okay, so Professor Jamal Maimouni is a specialist in astrology, and he's going to talk about our universe as a whole, instead of talking about planet Earth only. So thank you very much for the speakers and for the audience to join us today, and thank you also to all our team members at SMBC, people who are behind the screen helping us, Saeed Nasser and Mr. Ahmed Munir and Abdul Qawi Abdul Aziz. Thank you all, and this is the end of it. Thank you very much, and see you in the next webinar. مع السلامة. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام. شكرا جزيلا.